the Fleming Foundation.
Eventually, that leads, what no one could have predicted, to the Emperor Constantine. And the Emperor Constantine, from our story, the story we're telling about what you can say in response to power, is a very important figure because he legalizes Christianity. He tries to help them settle their disputes over technical points of theology. And he also makes sure that in every large city where there's a good-sized cathedral, that there is a complete Greek Bible, Old and New Testament, so that when you do need to get the right answer to things, you can go and find it there. And we actually have a few of these Bibles, one or two that may even be the first generation, and others that may be second generation. There's a wonderful Codex Vaticanus in the Vatican, obviously, Codex Sinaiticus, the Codex Alexandrinus, which now is in London, not in Alexandria. We have these wonderful 4th century texts, and if you're a fan of the Da Vinci Code, you'll hear that this is when the Bible got invented. It was invented by the Emperor Constantine and his friends. And since we're told that by someone we otherwise know to be Gandalf, we have to be very impressed that this is so. I'm sure I recognized him there from that. The fact of the matter is, it did mean there was now a source you could go to. And this turned out to be influential in a number of different ways. One is, in my opinion, this is interpretation, that in the 6th century, after some real times of troubles in the Roman world, the Emperor Constantine, now ruling from the Emperor Justinian in the 6th century, now ruling from Constantinople, wants to try and restore the Roman Empire. He decides he has to begin by getting Roman law down in a large but coherent volume that will be really, in many respects, the equivalent of these great codices of the Old and New Testament that Constantine had set up in the various cathedral parts. And this turns out to be terribly important, though not necessarily in the short run. There are some glorious victories that are won, but for the most part, Constantinople continues to rule the Balkans and the Near East, much of it anyhow. But Western Europe slowly slips away under what people my age call the barbarian invasions. Our colleagues keep telling us you can't call them barbarian invasions anymore because barbarians might be offended. My experience of barbarians is they're quite proud to be barbarians. They're not the slightest bit ashamed to be barbarians. It's kind of a cool thing to be. But it's certainly true that Europe in the centuries after the 6th century becomes more and more broken up, less urban, more agricultural. There's still trade, but it's not the fantastic trade of the Roman Empire, which was nonstop and everywhere. Then a couple of important things happen. One is there's an empress in Byzantium at one stage, Irene, and the King Charles the Great, Charlemagne, gets together with the Pope and decides that a woman can't be emperor. So why don't you call me emperor? And the Pope thinks, that's a great idea, I will crown you. Notice it's a decision Charlemagne hadn't thought through as to what it would mean to let the Bishop of Rome crown him. It has long-term ramifications. But anyhow, it does happen. And life goes on. And from our point of view, one of the important things that happens, but at somewhere near the end of the 11th century, probably in the city of Bologna, somebody finds a manuscript of Justinian's code. And again, we'd set up a faculty committee to discuss what to do and do a critical edition. Their response is Josiah's response. Oh my gosh, this is it. This is the law. This is civilization. This is what we've got to be doing, is what it says here. Now, there could hardly have been a less appropriate legal code for a society now broken up into many cities, many minor empires, a feudal society, all kinds of local customs and attitudes, everywhere throughout Europe than something that was set up to be the official rule of a Roman Empire that dominated the entire Mediterranean and much of Europe and most of the Near East. But they didn't care. Part of this was somebody who was spoken up disrespectfully earlier today, and that's fine. We should show our independence on all subjects. His friends called him Hildebrand, and he was known as Gregory VII. And Gregory said, look, I don't know if we can get these various descendants of barbarians to take this code seriously, but the church needs to take it seriously. We need to set ourselves up.
This was a presentation of the Fleming Foundation.